everyone, I'm Riven Harlow. I'm an illustrator who's been working primarily digitally for over 15 years now. I get asked for tips on drawing certain things a lot, so I figured I'd whip up this video real quick to answer some. Plus, I needed a video to do for my school project anyway. I'm also tossing just a couple little extra tips for the heck of it to kind of round out the video. And real quick as a side note, since these questions also get asked a lot, the app I'm using is Clip Studio Paint EX, and I'll have the brushes that I use listed below in the description. Okay, first tip up, use thumbnailing and the airbrush to plan your sketch. So thumbnailing is something that most artists know about. You make a smaller version of your canvas and you use that to block out your composition. In addition to that though, after I've decided on the composition I like, I also sketch on the actual canvas with the airbrush tool. Why do I do that? Well, if you're like me, you get easily bogged down by the little details and you lose sight of the big picture. And that's mostly fine for line work and for coloring and things like that. But if you do that during your sketch phase, you risk losing out on a lot of the original feel and expression of your overall piece. Plus, I find that using a bigger, chunkier brush like the airbrush makes it easier to flesh out form, shape, and volume a lot more quickly. Second tip, drawing the hair. Make ribbons. I get asked a lot about drawing hair, and I think that's because I have a lot of fun putting a lot of flow into the hair that I draw. I love drawing hair, and the best tip I ever read was to use the ribbon method. To get started, I map out the hairline of the scalp and I decide where the hair part is going to go. Then I draw a quick little single line guideline to make sure that the flow matches the energy of the character's movements. Then you form ribbons following those lines, flowing and curving as you think feels right. The key I found is to do this in layers of ribbons, especially if you have a character with curly hair. To do that, you divide the scalp into 3 sections. You can do more if you want, but this is just how I do it. I focus on one layer at a time, drawing ribbons coming down from around the entire section before continuing on to the next layer of ribbons. After that, add in some striations, variations, loose hairs, and whatever, and bam! Gorgeous flowing hair made easy. Third tip. Don't fear the airbrush, the smudge brush, or other brushes or tools like that. I know a lot of artists like to wig out about not using these tools, but they're wrong. Tools are tools. It's what you do with them that matters. Want to avoid overblurring? The navigator window is your friend. With the navigator window, you can keep an eye on the overall look of the piece while you're zoomed in by having the navigator window open and checking that as you go. Basically, when it comes to using the airbrush or the smudge tool, just remember that shadows have both hard and soft edges. Use both and you'll be good. And as a side note, this goes for all brushes. There's no shame in using stamp brushes, decoration brushes, etc. Tools are tools. You're still the one doing the creating and making good use of those tools. Fourth tip, use your references. Referencing isn't cheating. In fact, building your visual library and muscle memory demands it. Even tracing has its place in terms of using it as a tool to learn. You can trace the shapes and the volumes of the image that you're trying to study, and then you can try to recreate them off to the side. This helps further your understanding of form, shape, volume, and proportion, which will only help you in your artistic endeavors, whether you're using a reference image for that particular image or not. You can even take your own reference photos if that makes you feel more comfortable with it, but that won't always be an option. Using references isn't cheating. It doesn't make you less of an artist. It's a part of the process. For my 5th and final tip, take breaks, don't get burnt out. It is so incredibly easy to get burnt out from taking on too much work, especially when you're taking on work that you're not passionate about. I've been struggling with burnout for the past 4 or 5 years, and it's a constant struggle now, to the point where I dread drawing most of the time, even though I'm slowly starting to shake that feeling. If you want to avoid that same feeling, take breaks. Manage your energy, not your time. Just because you can get 5 illustrations done in a week when looking at it by the hours, doesn't mean that your energy is up to putting out consistent work at that pace. And make sure that you're drawing stuff that you enjoy too, not just doing paid work. Draw what makes you happy and never stuff your schedule so much that you can't. Because once you hit that wall, the recovery process from burnout takes years. It doesn't just go away after a few days break. So remember, both your physical health and your mental health depend on frequent and sufficient breaks. Set a schedule and don't work past those hours that you set. Make it a strict rule to not work on certain days or whatever works for you. Make it a priority and take it into consideration for every project that you take on. I hope these tips helped you today, whether it's you just got one thing from it or all 5 were helpful. And, feel free to comment with anything else that you'd like to know, and I'll do my best to respond if I can. You can follow me on all social medias under the username Riven Harlow. Links can be found on my page, and thank you so much for watching.